Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Palmer, Leo King here with highvibe.tv for the show After Dark, the spiritual talk show. And we are here tonight going to be talking about lots of different spiritual subjects, talking about the new moon in Leo and a lot more. And of course, you can help support this show for being free and being out there for people by joining us at highvibe.tv. Check out all the free content. We have apps out there on iOS, on Android, on the website. There's so much awesome stuff there. You can always support us also by subscribing to get the exclusive content, which is for the price of a smoothie for the month. Or we also have awesome programming on there that you can get for free. And we have a lot of awesome people on today's show. We got co-founder of highvibe.tv, Abby Moneyhun.
Hello.
We got Dylan, the spirit advisor, in the house. And we got Kim Tabay in the house. And actually, let's start with Kim. You're going to be painting live a High Vibe logo tonight, right?
Yes, I am. We're going to go ahead and transcend that energy onto canvas. Oh, sorry. It's called color therapy. High Vibe.
What is color therapy?
Well, I mean, I think the High Vibe logo is a really good subject to start with. I'm really excited to translate that and that energy. I just came back from a trip, so let's see how that transcends all that inspiration that I brought back here with us into the studio and see how it translates onto the canvas as well.
Beautiful.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and you can all check out on highvibe.tv or on the app Kim's awesome series where she's been teaching people how to paint and really get in. And there's a lot of spirituality about that, about just getting over that confidence to really go and be creative. And there's going to be so many other things that Kim's going to be bringing up through the series that she's doing. So definitely while we're doing this show, be paying attention. Craig will be going off and showing what she's doing. And we encourage you all to follow some of those videos. They're for free. And you can go get the equipment. She tells you what to get on whatever budget. And truly, you can be out there being your own master of your creativity.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I'm really excited. I want to thank everybody for the amazing words that you guys been sending me online, and it's truly an amazing space to be, to know that anywhere around the world the gift of art is accessible for anybody, and just getting the feedback of just like you said, art is for everyone. It's not just about painting on a canvas. It's about acclimating to stepping into new places, to take small risks and have small victories, and our mind, body, spirit acclimating to these new places of empowerment through creation. Yeah.
No, it's beautiful. And of course, your art is all over the High Vibe TV studio. And to be honest with you, I feel like I do my astrology and my shows better with it behind me. And when I DJ too, when we're doing spiritual dance music, oh my gosh, everybody's like, that is so cool.
Wonderful. And that's what I think color therapy is. I think that's what we do here at High Vibe, is create that multi-dimensional space of stimulation. You not only hear it, you see it. You not only see it, you feel it. You taste it. All the above. Yeah.
I know, because it's ironic, as we're doing the show right now, they just finished the debates and the politics, tonight for the Democratic Party, and everybody can get really sucked into that or sucked into this. I think The Bachelorette's on tonight.
I know, I'm missing it. Dang it.
But we're talking about other stuff, and I think this is where people's kind of energy is going, is where do you put your energy in, especially during this potent time of Leo and creativity and love and passion. Where does that go? So that kind of is a good way to start this show, I think.
It is. You know what I love about her pictures too?
Who?
Kim's,
oh, good. I thought you were talking about something.
No, the Bachelorette.
I was like, oh no.
No, I love how they're in the neon paint, so that when the lights shine on it, that neon, that vibe comes out of it. And I love the Bachelorette because I learned about how off my first impressions can be sometimes.
Ooh.
I know, because does anybody else watch The Bachelorette? That is my bubblegum. That is my bubblegum show. And
Mercury's almost out of urine.
No, I love the fact that she was on that season with Colton, and I really didn't like her. In fact, I told my kids, I did not like this woman. She was just, I don't know, very immature, it seemed, and I was so wrong. I mean, she is freaking amazing, and the things that she says in that show have even stuck in my head, because have you watched any of it at all?
Well, I was supposed to be on it, so I kind of have a bad
I
taste
can't.
in my mouth since they wouldn't let me go after literally I got on the show, was casted, did the whole thing, and then they were like, take down your app. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. That was a few years ago,
It was
right?
2016, yeah. I was supposed to be me and JoJo. Could you imagine if JoJo and I would have hooked
No,
up?
I can't fathom it.
The singer?
No, the girl on The Bachelorette in
Oh.
2016.
Well,
But I think it brings up an interesting point. Like, I was actually just thinking of Dylan, like, what if The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, if you knew everybody's human design, or you knew everybody's like astrology and their human design, it would make it a way more interesting show of like, oh, look at how that 5-1 is mixing with that whatever.
Oh, yeah, totally. Also, I think it would make it not much of a show because you could tell right from the get-go, like, who was going to connect and who wasn't.
Oh, I like that. But it would be awesome to have you say that and then see how it plays out and watch people be like, oh, no, that
We
ain't
could
going
take
to
bets.
happen. And then
We
it
could take
does.
bets.
secret predictions.
Well, I've been noticing in the Instagram world, in all worlds, like Channing Tatum yesterday posted about astrology, one of the apps, Pattern, which is an astrology app.
I've been using that.
And it crashed yesterday because he was like, what's going on with this? I've never been into this before. I just put in my birthday and I start getting notifications and it's saying exactly what's going on right now in front of me. Are you using the microphone to hear what I'm saying? I need to know. And so there's this whole conscious thing is reaching a lot of places right now.
Is that AI app?
It's kind
Or-
of, yeah, it's
No.
a
It's basically like an astrology app that doesn't really tell you about the astrological. It just gives you like a synopsis of your birth chart, your transits, but it doesn't tell you what the aspects are.
I
It's just like
see.
you are ... During these weeks, you will experience. It's pretty spot on. I like how they done it.
yeah.
But you're not going to learn any astrology from that app.
Right. I got
So-
the AI one.
Of course you did.
Alien baby.
Well, that's a whole other story. But yeah, I think it's an interesting time right now we're in. And I've talked to a couple of people in my spiritual circles, and a lot of people kind of are more upset. They feel that it's becoming so trendy, spirituality and stuff. And I'm like, just sit in who you are and do it. Like, it's a good thing. I mean, look at crypto. Like, now everybody wants to be in crypto. There's always
Right.
going to be something in life where it's going to come out, and then everybody's going to jump on the train. And that doesn't mean it's like some sort of competition. I just feel like it's just sit in who you are, and there's plenty around to go for everybody in this world in every aspect.
Speaking of astrology, we had a comment in the chat tonight about astrology and saying that it was demonism. Like
Wow.
and I thought it would be like an awesome thing to visit about, because you know, there's a lot of dichotomy about belief systems, whether it is coming like from the devil, or if it is from God, or, you know, like if it's religion. And I just, you saw the comments, right? A couple of them. That I'm
I
talking
did.
about.
And as you were saying that, somebody just donated $100.
Wow.
So, and
Well,
it's
that's awesome.
Pragmatic Astrology Channel. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
And we really appreciate it. And I want to say that it's interesting because it was right when I got off, and then we were doing deep astrology, and that person was in there doing all the biblical
Yeah.
stuff, and we're all going to hell, and we're going to be in hell. And then as you're talking about that, somebody donates us $100 and says peace and love and keep it all good and high vibrations.
Thank
So
you.
there is this opposite energies
Yeah.
that are really extreme that are coming into people's lives right now, and it's whether or not are they trying to project and change your code. It's like almost kind of like, if it feels intrusive, it's almost like, I think with this Leo energy, it's like, no, like, this is my soul. You don't need to reprogram me. Like, does that make sense?
No, it's like remembering your coding.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what it is. Like we are awakening to who we've been the whole entire time. It's not even like there's anything new. That's been sitting in there the whole time.
Yeah. How do you feel about all that, Dylan?
Well, Abby, you're so spot on. We're in the we're moving into the gate or gene key of remembering this week in Leo.
Really?
It's called, also known as the gate of return or retreat, as human design calls it. And it is all about accessing that deep well of our inner archetypes that have been here since, evolution began, to really, find which ones truly fit us. And also bring forth the mindfulness that no archetype is going to truly suit you unless you're totally in tune with yourself. And then at that point, we transcend the need for archetypes or the need to be judged by a spiritual system or a religion or, even a tool like astrology. We just get to be who we are if we remember that. So I think also in general, people are really freaked out because
I was just going to say that.
They can feel the change in the air. I know I can feel it. I feel like spirit is just moving through everything so much more each day. And when people are so rigid in what they identify as truth or the way to truth, and then they have a feeling that's very different than that, they're just going to go on the attack because they feel threatened. And that's what, people in victim consciousness do. They attack out of fear. So, it's nothing new. This is old behavior, but we know better and we're good.
Yeah, it's interesting that this gene key would come up of remembrance, and then maybe if that's tapping into somebody's belief system right now and remembrance, it might be going to the triggers of how they remembered being told how to live, right? Like, so it's almost like you want to remember the sovereign beauty and the truth of who you are that's separate from any sort of, outside source saying how to be, to remember who you really are. But if you kind of have wrapped everything around that, like when I come into this energy of remembrance, I really am not thinking about me being an astrologer or anything. I'm like just thinking about having fun and being a goofball. Like that's how my energy is, and laughing. So I feel like it's just more about getting to the real just core of just that code, and then how beautiful that code can create the tree of life of these flowers that bloom into astrology, or like with Dylan with human design, or you with all these galactic codes, or Kim with how she does her paintings, but it's like there's something that's deeper than that grows that well out. And it's very Cancerian Leo together, I feel, when they come together and they merge. I feel like there's that merge happening through this last couple weeks, which is why I think that spirit that Dylan feels flowing so much is intense, because it's the luminary positions, those two signs, and there's been so much activity there. It's been really beautiful, I feel. Yeah,
it is. I looked at the galactic code for this just for the week, and it was it's not just the week. The moon is the bat moon of purpose, and it comes with rebirth. So it's like consistently, like straight across the board, we can see in every modality. It's basically the same message.
Right. Now, I do want to ask you, Abby, so what is up with this 13-year calendar shift that just happened?
I wish I knew more about it. It's just that I think that it's ironic, number one, that everything in the galactic code is so revolving around the number 13, and that the Gregorian calendar system has us afraid of it.
Right.
Like so many hotels don't even have the 13th floor. But there's something about 13, which is 4 in numerology, which is it's stability. So it's like you go through this entire process, and we've learned so much through the last 13 years. So it's like a 13-year cycle.
Right.
So what year would that be?
2006.
Yeah.
Which I started doing astrological aspects and going, okay, I was Saturn in Leo, and how funny, there's all this Leo stuff coming up. And it was also Saturn square Jupiter in Scorpio. And for me, it was an ironic time because I was heavy in psychedelics. I was kind of going crazy with drugs, but it was also the awakening point of like me being an astrologer. And then I'm like looking 13 years later, like, whoa, this is where I ended up.
It's so ironic because you and I talked in 2017, and right then is when we were talking about the fact that there was going to be like 2.5 more years or something before we were coming into this new cycle.
Right.
And what I feel is so important about this time is that we crave a change, but we're also at the same time so afraid of a change, because we get comfortable. And what do they say? You don't make a change until it's more uncomfortable.
Right.
Like when it gets to this certain point where you just can't stand it anymore, then you force yourself into change. And I feel like that's where we're at, like as a society even. Things have just gone to this point where we all desire things to be different, but as it changes, we get afraid.
Yeah.
And I tell people this a lot because it's like, we know for fact that things have to change, but sometimes that means demolition. I look at a remodel or, where you have to gut it.
Saloons in the 1800s, they're gone.
They're gone. You remodel it and something new gets to come in. And I feel like this collective, in such a timeless way that we haven't really understood that we're doing, we've created it, but we don't know what it is yet. And that's what's getting to unfold now. So in that void space, it is frightening.
Yeah. It is a weird time, but I feel like so good. I feel like it was the deepest clearing ever. And I feel this new moon in Leo is bringing a lot of positive energy. And I've been looking at the astrology throughout the rest of this year. And it's like this next 2 months is the best time. It is beautiful. And I feel like, really anything is possible at this moment. And it's really about setting up your life to use this creative force in every aspect of creativity, however you look at that. Creativity goes into every direction, and I think people have to understand that too. Creativity is it's not just art. It's not creating just a baby. It's not like having a creative project too. It is literally what creativity is manifestation at its highest form, in every direction. So it's interesting that in how Dylan's talking about this remembrance, it's like you almost do want to remember who you are, so you're creating from the right space.
I think it also has to do with forgetting a lot of stuff too. Forgetting conditioning, forgetting, like you were saying, connections that don't resonate, that don't lift you higher. Forgetting the rules imposed on us by spiritual traditions or religious institutions. And also remembering that we're not just the ego that has these fears and that clings to similarity and comfort. There's so much more to us than that. And when we can suspend that surface level fear of change, behind that is where we really get to tap into our consciousness. And that's where our creativity comes from, is when we get past the surface level of the conscious mind and let that real deep, flowing, infinite side of us come through and just surprise us with what we're capable of. Whether it is on a canvas or something that we might confess to someone, because I feel like Leo brings up a lot of these admissions of maybe love or this isn't working for me anymore or whatever, and I think this new moon is really a time to remember what really matters to you and to let that heart come through and just get it out there so that you can almost force yourself to stop getting in your way, so that your heart can just speak more and be a part of your life more, because there's no fear in the heart realm.
No.
Do you want to say something?
Well, I mean, just, we're still resonating on that space of creativity, and you're right about that space of truth. And so, what's amazing about my job is, creating these comfortable spaces of creation that are entertaining and they're fun and they're group oriented. And something that I love to tell my students is, after we're done with this, we're all connected through this one painting, through this one space in time that we all allowed ourselves to embrace this moment, and create a real energy that becomes an undeniable force, which becomes truth, and why I love what I do is like there's people who've always wanted to paint. There's people who used to paint. There's 18-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 65-year-olds, people out of retirement. And to see them change in a matter of 2 hours to 3 hours. And this is, if I had $1 for every time someone told me they can't draw a stick figure, like I would be rich. And I'm like, well, we're not doing stick figures. We're doing something of nature, something that exists, something that is your access to every day. Art is in front of our eyes. And so, yeah, you're right. People, when change comes, they take that as a negative notion, right? But all it is power, producing itself. And it's change, it's truth, it's in front of us. That's why we have storms, that's why we have sunny days. That's the same thing as I feel as like the color on my palette, from the gradient of that really deep dark colors all the way to the light. Like all of that exists, and so therefore in life. So if we expect for these deep places to come and realize it's part of the organic evolution of things, and we allow ourselves to create in small spaces, like I really do feel like people's bodies, their makes, really are reminded of the true authentic spaces that exist within us, such as our truth.
Well, and when you bring up the stick figure thing, it's like creativity takes courage. Like when you say, oh, like all I can do is a stick figure, I can't even do that. It's kind of like I'm not even going to attempt the courage to try. Like there is this whole like, oh, I'm not able to. Like I don't have the courage, and then you start becoming like the lion in Wizard of Oz.
Resistance,
like,
resistance, yeah. And people clam up.
And love takes courage. Like
it does.
There's a possibility you will get hurt. Actually, I think 100% you will get hurt over something when it comes to love, because truth is going to always bring up people's opinions, and there's going to be a confrontation, or there's going to be, but that's what freedom is the ability to speak truth and everybody bring their truth, and it's going to be confrontational, and it takes courage to do that.
It took me a long time to show my art. That was a journey in itself. I always wanted to be an artist. I'm self-taught.
Yeah.
It took me a lot of, getting over my insecurities and stepping into like, I've dedicated my life to this. Now I have to start really sharing my diary. Everything that I have here was like, we spoke the first time. You're like, where does this come from? And it comes from really deep, emotional, heavy spaces where I was just searching for, why do I feel like this? And I just had a conversation with someone yesterday who was really committing her life to becoming an artist, and just to be able to give her that, like, you're going to experience the highest of the highs, but also the lowest of the lows. But the deeper you go, the higher you obtain the gift to even risk taking that chance of saying, I'm ready for it, and stepping into a space with faith and light and knowing that you asked for this. Just like, you have to remind yourself, like, you asked for this moment, and this is what change feels like.
Yeah, change, it's a confronting thing. You have to confront it, right? So it's almost like when change is in front of you, it's like, it's very easy to try and put it like dirty laundry and keep pushing it down, but that actually makes the change more intense. Like it always and then it becomes so intense. And I think that's what I learned through this whole eclipse cycle in Cancer is like, gosh, if I just allow change, I'll be more comfortable.
Yeah, but we go to our triggers. We start old habits, right? Numbing things.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Dylan?
Oh, I think we got to use this Leo energy to just be like, change, come at me, bro. Like, I'm awesome. I'm in touch with my heart right now. And I think we have to, yeah, remember also to, like you were saying, look yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm fucking awesome. I can do this, whatever it is. Even if you don't know what it is. You know, it helps to just give yourself that pep talk in the time of the heart in Leo, so that no matter what comes, you're just ready to be who you are. And it doesn't matter what comes then, because you're still you. That's the whole point. I think we're unlearning as a collective that we have to be something more than we are to be okay in life.
Yeah.
And I think that is just, you know, being shredded by the energies that we're moving through. And what's left after that, for some people, maybe it feels like, there's nothing left. I don't know what to do now. Who am I going to be? Well, guess what? You're you.
Yeah.
You have something to be. You have someone to be. And you probably don't know everything about that person yet. So go on that journey.
Well, if you think about the sun, and if you look at, you know, they find water on Mars, the planets have been going through lots of change, but the sun's still there, even though all this change has happened. So our soul, even though it goes through change, there's something about us that never changes too, that fixed energy of our soul, like that stays constant, fixed on this vibration that is really not describable. I mean, I like the word code, so I've been using that one lately, or key, like, you know, our own unique key that was given by God. And I feel like that, even though it's gone through so much change and all that, and all the dark or all the light or anything, there's something that's unwavering. And when you always come back to that space and approach the change, I mean, it's going to all be okay always. It's not like the sun's tripping. It's watched Mars probably maybe have people live on it and then not and whatever. Who knows? Mm-hmm. I mean, it saw me have an alien baby today. So
I think we expect change to sometimes become something. Like we put so much pressure on ourselves to be something. And it's been so interesting for me just to relax. Like I have really been practicing that, because I get this drive, like I need to be this, or I need to be that, or I need to do this. I think it's really different like once you retire and it's like you lose your identity of your job, you know, because like I mean, for a very long time I was a certain persona, you know, with work. And all of a sudden it's like this brand new identity comes in, and that's when you get to ask the question, who do I want to be? The reality is, like, just by enjoying everything in the world, like being able to go out and take a walk in nature, or to be able to, you know, like as you're driving even in traffic today, to be able to see the beauty on people's faces as you're passing them in traffic. It's like that beauty then exists in yourself, and you get to just like waltz through life instead of all the pressure of, you know, trying to be something, you know, and I think it's really hard to do that sometimes when we hear of tragic things, you know, like I just found out I just had a very close friend pass. Oh. Yeah, in a car accident yesterday. And her 4-year-old is in the hospital, like on the brink of death. And it's like in those moments, you know, I remembered that thing with the Galactic Code where it's like we're learning about purpose. You know, what is our purpose if life can pass, you know, like in the blink of an eye? But Stallone said something to me, my son, really interesting a while back, and he said, our lifetime, you know, we can live a lifetime in a day. You know, some of us live a lifetime because we pass when we are 4. But it's like the fact, if we can live a lifetime every single day, and no matter what is happening in the day, to be able to express the beauty that we have inside of ourselves towards someone else, that's, to me, the easiest way to go through that change. Like in a more comfortable way. Because like as a Tauran, you know how hard change is for us.
Right.
There are so many. Is that fireworks?
That's Disneyland.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. 9:30.
Oh.
My whole life. Yeah, Kim's whole life.
It's so funny that a couple weeks ago I was here and I hear this. I thought it was a gunshot outside, and I came in. I told David, because I'm kind of like hanging back away from the doors and everything, and Dave just goes stomping out there, and I'm like kind of shocked that he's just going to go like see it head on. He goes, I got my Mars in Scorpio. I just go out there and
I'm like, where
see
is
what's happening,
where is
hunt
it?
it down. And it was just fireworks.
I know. I'm like, oh, it's Disneyland. Mickey's going off right now. And that's the whole funny thing, right? Yeah, like there's a lot of fear about things that we really don't know. Like how you brought up with the Bachelorette, right? Like,
Yeah.
you kind of want to go deeper and see how people really are and see what's there. But it takes courage to do that. A lot of people in today's day and age, it's like they just see it, and I already judged that. Or somebody wrote on my Deep Astrology, like one of the first comments, like, you scream way too loud and way too much. And I was just like, nice. I was like, it was funny actually, because this whole show was talking about just being your own code and not doing this Pluto, Saturn, Capricorn thing of you must be like this way. And I used the example of a reptilian taking a crap, yelling at people on the toilet, telling you, no, you know? And I think that people have a choice right now of playing that card or seeing people for the light that they are, no matter how bright it is, and being like, oh, like, I might have to put my sunglasses on for a second. Let me adjust to it. Let me see it. Oh, like, it's really cool or really nice. Instead of like, oh gosh, no.
It's interesting, even in the, like in the chat, when there is somebody that's like leaving troll remarks and people want us to remove those remarks, it's like, even they, in their viewpoint, they're right. And there's nothing wrong with them feeling like they're right. And that's why we don't remove it.
No.
So it's like even the comments that were there tonight, that maybe it did
might
distract
resonate for someone, actually.
Well, and it makes me question, like, what do I really believe? Which is great. I mean, that's what...
Don't pull a Doreen Virtue on us.
Right. But it does. Even like with Doreen Virtue, I remember calling you and saying, what does that make you do inside, when you read that? Because what it does is it usually will pull out who you really are, because then you get to see what you believe. And I think that... that diversity, even in people's belief systems, like I'm thankful for the diversity because it makes me think.
Yeah. I think, and we talked about this on the phone, and I actually brought Dylan up in that phone call. I'm like, for people like Dylan and I who are like astrologers, and we do all these divination tools, he does human design. When you do it for so long and that's like your life, like you already kind of make that pass through that gate and kind of never look back and don't question it, like, okay. And then I did Age of Deception, and I was like, that's 5 hours of just me just making the most insane claims to any Christian, I guess you could say, ever. So those gates have been long past for me. Of course there'll be moments I'll be like, oh yeah, well, is that? And then I'll be like, oh no. It's kind of like, oh no. There's enough evidence there. And I think that's the thing about religion, especially in Christianity. They use, anything with numbers or science or anything is banned, basically. But that's because what's going to happen is people will become aware of what's real. So anything of finding out the truth, it's very Aussie. And this is the age of Pisces. This is the end of it, which... There's no coincidence that Jesus, the fish, and the whole the three tiered crown on the tiara of the fish head on the Pope. Like, it is the age of Pisces. It is the age of deception.
But as you, David, see, as any of us practitioners see when we work with people, with clients, many times that path of walking through the darkness and the obscurity and not knowing who you truly are and having to go through that journey of finding that out is exactly what you need to remember what your soul is and who you really are. So I think yeah, we can look at Age of Pisces as like, whoa, that was really screwed up. You know, it was a terrible time for us. And it was. There's so much separation and darkness and just control that has been dominating consciousness for a long time. But I think it was a necessary passage for the human spirit to really fully come back to its full potential. And we're so lucky to be living at the tail end of it, where we can talk about these things and experience, you know, truths and live by them instead of having to live in fear and obscurity. Because I think people really need to remember that if you're a being that's alive on this planet, whether you're, you know, a plant or you know, an Anunnaki overlord or whatever, we all have the same right to sovereignty as beings.
Especially, I'd like to go to that apartment complex with that overlord and the plant as neighbors.
Yeah. And they're both just able to like...
to have to work into the apartment complex together.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was just thinking with what I'm noticing in this, well, I would not say the whole spiritual community, but at least here on High Vibe, it's like, if you have if that's what you believe, that's what you believe. We'll get along with you. I'll still love you. You know what I mean? Like, so.
That's what unification really is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that toroidal field.
It's almost like, I feel like this universe is not about everybody being on that same, everybody on the same wavelengths. Even people's understanding of morals are different than other people's. Other cultures have different morals and different values. And I think that's a lot of the Jupiter-Neptune square going on right now. Which, ironically enough, I was thinking about this the other day. 1852 was Jupiter in its home sign, square Neptune in Pisces in its home sign. So there was that big square. And that was when the Eiffel Tower was built. So it's at times like these, too, that like symbols of, you know, I guess art or expression can be, you know, through the lines of these blurring of, you know, division of beliefs and all that. If you kind of leave that space, beautiful things that become symbols in life. But if you use the creativity and the beauty of these moments and harnessing and understanding all of it and not kind of joining the force against another force, you know, amazing, beautiful things pop out too.
Yeah. I think, yes, diversity is like why we're here. You know, that's one of the foundations of human design, is honoring people's uniqueness and you know, guiding them to the skills of how to honor their uniqueness. And I think that all these belief systems, you know, can be individually beautiful, and there's seeds of truth at the root of each one. I just think whenever it veers into the arena of like, yeah, putting one group beneath another, or telling somebody that this is the only way for their salvation, or to like obscure their own sovereignty over their life, that's the only thing that I don't think needs to continue. The rest is just a beautiful expression of how we understand the universe.
Yeah, there is definitely not just one doorway through. Just if you look everywhere, I mean, right now, if we look in the building, we could come up with 100,000 different ways to come out of this building, you know, or come into it. Everywhere. There's a lot of different ways to sit in this couch right now. I'm sitting in this chair like this. I could sit on it like this too. So, you know, but that's, I think, the Saturn-Pluto thing too, mixed with Jupiter square Neptune, is people kind of get into the whole, like, you must sit in the chair like this, and you must believe this, and you must act this way. And then when you're in that space, it takes you away from that sovereign, real vibe, because there might be actually some people that do feel like they have to do that. Maybe that is their energy, so that it might feel right. So that, then go do that, you know. But then you have to really look inside them and go, like, does this feel right? I always remember thinking it was really weird getting a shot as a kid and then getting a lollipop afterwards. There was something that really didn't associate that to me, like that. I never looked at it as that as like a wash. I was like, the lollipop is gone in my mouth, and it's really cheap, and it's one of the ones that I don't like. I'd rather have a Tootsie Roll or a bubble gum one, the Bubble Yum or whatever it was back in the day.
Bubble Yum.
Remember? Yeah, or whatever.
Best
and
texture ever.
Oh my! I don't think they make it like that no more, huh? But it was, That to me, I never made sense of that. There was just some things in life I'm like, I'm supposed to accept this and like it and I'm okay. Like, ow, this really hurts. I used to be scared of shots.
Me too.
You gave me the best analogy the very first time you ever did a reading for me. And you said that it was like going into this bookshelf, a library, something with all these books on it that were written 250 years ago that have just dust all over it. And it's like taking the book off and like blowing all the dust off of it and opening it up and being like, what? Like, I don't agree with that. Like, it's time to rewrite that rule.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And you gave me the example of how like married people, like, I don't know how many years ago it was.
250 years ago, yeah.
Used to sleep in separate beds. I mean, that's just the way it was. And then all of a sudden it changed. And what changed? Who changed
I'd say
that?
the Roaring 20s.
Yeah, it's just like all of a sudden everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
But it just merged. Like nobody made a rule.
Yeah, because in the 1910s it was still very common, and the Roaring 20s came, and it was a lot of alcohol, and it was a Roaring 20s. It was the economy in America booming, and the saloons had died, and it became this more higher echelon kind of sort of living that America really had never. The common man and woman could actually like go to a club, and it was at a time when facilities like bathrooms and toilets and running water, and women now had tampons and things like that, to where society started to get this huge lift up. Maybe back then men were afraid of women on their period. They're like, I'm sleeping in my own bed.
Maybe.
I don't know. You never know. I mean, I'm not afraid of that, but some dudes might be.
Well, before the 1920s, they probably had it right, because it's a lot better to sleep in your own aura, which most people don't know, because you can wake up running that other person's program, their code for your day. If you have a 40-year marriage, then you can lose yourself in that programming, because we all program each other.
Right.
We all condition each other. It can be good because it teaches us
You can also
intelligence.
dream in the same dream too. I've had that next to somebody I've slept to before.
That's fun.
That's like, whoa. Although, growing up, once my parents divorced, my dad and my brother and I, we'd travel, because my dad he didn't remarry until 20 something years later. And we'd all like sleep in the same bed, and stuff. But there was also kind of a feeling of like comfort with that. And like, we all just like, we're just adventuring through life and having a great time. And we just didn't care, But I think you're right. Maybe it's if everybody's kind of on the same level, but that's kind of different because it wasn't all the time. It was like at moments,
It's like your wolf pack.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, you also don't do that every day, So I could definitely see that, especially, I've woken up to somebody just to scream at me in the morning, wake me up. What? Like, like what? It's not fun.
Amplifying your energy.
Well, for me, I am like, and Craig can vouch, I don't wake up. Like 5 alarms, smack me in the face. I don't wake up. So when I wake up, like I am like a bear waking up out of hibernation. Like, what did you just say? I don't really get up quick. Or when we race, Craig's like, dude, you got to get up. They're always like, writers meeting, wake up. I'm just like, So.
Yeah, the other night the alarm was going off and Craig and I both left. Craig's
I was asleep on the
he'll
couch.
be asleep for, like 5 more hours. So he'll sleep right through that.
I slept for like 2.5, yeah. And I think right now with Cancer, it's important to really think about your emotional field, and sleep and emotion are very connected. How you bring your emotions before you go to bed can definitely carry on, or that's where you can kind of purge it. And so for me, I don't bring work to my bedroom. Like that's like a no-no. I learned that one. That one was hard because I used to be like, oh, it's so great. I can work from my bed. And I'm like, wait, I'm bringing all that stress into my bed right now? And then I was like, okay, I'll move to the living room. And then it was like, well, that's where I want to chill and hang out. And that's what made me get the first studio,
My son was grinding really bad, and the doctor explained that even when we think we're not working through something, our subconscious is working through stuff in the
I grind every
in the
night.
sleep.
I chomp. So, lots of fake teeth in the back. But
Wearing them out, huh?
is there anything in human design that deals with teeth besides Saturn, of course, in astrology, or can you tell? Is if there's a bunch of stuff up here in the head in human design, does that affect teeth, or I don't know? It's interesting to me about health and because when I was listening to some of what is it, Amun Ra or Ra, I was watching some of his older videos, and he was talking about sacral to heart in the gallbladder. So I was like, oh wait, okay. I started to like put together a lot of this stuff, like the different connections or non-connections or empty spaces and how it'll affect your health stuff.
Yeah. Well, if the sacral was connected to the heart, we wouldn't die, but it's not. So there's one health tidbit. But also, in human design, we look at pressure centers. We have the root center at the base of our energy
solar
system.
plexus in the heart.
Yeah. Which deals with physical pressure. And so there we have, just the pressure of the world that can just be coursing through us, even though we're sleeping. If we have an open root center. And then we have the head center, which is mental pressure to figure it all out. Why, which we've talked about in the previous weeks on this show. And to me, I feel like that can really translate to like that jaw tension and that need to relieve pressure through, the jaw muscle and the grinding or the chomping. So I think with people that like you, that have a really open crown, that's just like channeling so much energy, it's almost like a release in your sleep.
So I was going to say, I don't think in bed. I literally get into bed and I go, I don't have to think. Good night. And I'm out. I don't ever go, I'm tossing. I literally go,
I used to think I wasn't sleeping. I would think I was awake all night, and then I would hear myself snore.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
So you didn't get enough of that the chemical that puts you out?
I guess. I mean, it's like I was fully aware that my physical body was there.
But have you guys been
asleep.
noticing through clients and other people, everybody's been telling me that they have trouble getting to sleep or that they wake up a bunch of the night. And I'm like, it's not been me, but...
Yeah.
Have you been getting that a lot? I've been hearing that a lot lately.
Yeah. Have you heard that poem by Rumi that talks about when the whisperings of dawn arise, do not go back to sleep? It's really ironic because that's when we get our answers, like when we go to sleep. Like there's a lot of people that wake up, like right around 3:30 in the morning.
And when I go to bed.
I know. That's why you're not waking up.
Well, I don't know. Even when I was in the military and stuff, can I wake up? Okay, what's up?
I think it's really beneficial for people that can't sleep if you could try something, because usually the first thing that we do is we get ticked off that we woke up, and that getting ticked off it starts a negative spin. And so it's like, if it's true that the whisperings of dawn arise, just when you wake up, just be so grateful that you're going to get an answer. It's like, what is the answer, to whatever question it was. And it's like, if it's not going to give you an answer, then go ahead and let your physical body get some rest. Yeah. And there's something about just acknowledging the fact that you were woken up, and you don't get mad about it, to take you down that rabbit hole of irritation, that it allows you to go back to sleep. It allows you to get your quick answer, and then you can drift back
if
off.
I wake up in my sleep and I have to go pee, I'm always like, oh yeah, I got more time to keep sleeping. And I go pee and then I walk away back.
Yeah.
Well, that irritation that I think is that knee-jerk reaction comes from the pressure of the world and like, I'm not going to get enough sleep for the things I have to do tomorrow, which,
that almost creates more pressure.
Yeah,
it does.
Exactly.
Well, like if you know that you have to be up at 6 and it's 3:30 and now you're going to toss and turn for 2 hours and then you're going to be tired, right at 5:30 and go to sleep. Like that's the frustration.
I think this all goes into time, because everything we were talking about earlier, when you were talking about when you kind of come into a new identity and what to do with this world, and then I feel like right now, Dylan said when he was sat on the couch, gosh, it feels like it's been so long, and it was 2 weeks ago. It feels like it's been eternity. And then how you said how life can go in a second of a flash. I feel like, I don't know, the time system to me is just kind of gone now. And I just go, well, this is the moment. If it's going to be 5 hours of sleep tonight, whatever. I can't wait to go do whatever. I just get excited. And then if it's 1 hour, whatever. And then I'll just find a nap somewhere.
I think it's easier for us at this point because we have the luxury of our schedule being able to, to sleep in or to, like rearrange a call or something. And I think it's the hardest for people that, they're putting their kids to bed at night, after they've worked all day long, and then they know they're going to wake up in the middle of the night and they have to do it all over.
Stay up and see what naturally kids really do in the world.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because I bet you if we were to go into Africa and we were to go into some tribes, I bet you they're not like, get to bed, kids, and put you in your hut. I bet you they're just like, they're out playing with the lions right now and the jaguars, and they're playing fire games. And
then when it's dark, they go to bed because they don't have video games, maybe?
I don't know. Or maybe
What's that, Kim?
they go do a dancing ceremony with some fire and get all lit up and stay up and watch the sunrise and fill our souls up. That was a Dave Matthews line. But
no, because they have to get up and go to school, those institutions that...
And I think, maybe that's the break of the matrix thing here, which there's, I think, it takes a while to get to this place. It's not, and it takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
Because I remember I got laid off in 2008 when the car industry was done, and my dad owned the dealership, and it was like a year and a couple months, and I was the finance manager, and I had a really good, cushy job, but just went down the car business. And so I remember being on unemployment for that first week, and every morning waking up freaking out like I am not in the right space in my life. I have to find a job, and that's when I was like, well, maybe I should really be. I had been doing astrology, I'd been doing DJing, and I'm like, what if I just did this full time, like full on? And so I decided to do that.
Have you been having weird dreams? That's one of the comments in here.
You know what's so funny is everybody's been hitting me up on Instagram and my YouTube and my Facebook being like, you're in my dreams this night. You're in my dreams this night. You're in my dreams. Like, it's getting like to where it's like thousands of people a week. And then I've been realizing that I really believe that I go work when I fall asleep, and that's why I'm out and I'm not even in the body. Like, I'm gone.
So you're not having weird nightmares?
No, I do, but it's usually when I'm in a space to where I disconnect from doing this work a lot. When I like go out and race, I have the craziest dreams usually because I'm not doing this work. Like, I'm in a different realm. And I am a sun in the 12th house, so I always have lots of dreams. But then I've like learned to play with dreams and learned to, I can go to bed and visualize exactly where I want to dream and instantly and go there.
Do you have nightmares?
No.
I've never had I don't remember having nightmares either. Maybe like 2 dreams that kind of scared me, but
I had some during my
that's why I
Saturn
don't
return
know
in Scorpio. But
what's
I have
a good
Scorpio Saturn.
solution.
I've definitely had scary dreams, but it's weird because I always seem to find a way to like become victorious over the scary thing. Like, I'll defeat the demons, or I'll turn into a giant.
Yeah, they never actually fully get you.
Yeah. One time
My scariest dream, you want to know it?
Alien baby.
It's really crazy. And then I actually do want to go on the alien babies thing. Mm-hmm. I remember it was, I have a lot of zombie dreams back in the day, where those were my nightmares. And this one was really intense because I was in this warehouse. It was dark. The whole earth basically had become zombies. There was like nobody left. I had been like running for like years. And I remember that they would run. Now they had more superpower and they had extrasensory sound. And so they would be running down these big streets, hundreds of thousands of them at the like way more faster than marathon runners, and I would have to barely breathe. And I remember I was at this door of this warehouse, and I was trying not to breathe, and then one of them went, and I could feel them coming, and then they all went, and they were all coming, and they were about to fucking come. I'm like, oh God, I'm caught. I'm really caught this time. And they literally started speaking in zombie tones, like, and I was just like, and then I woke up. And that was all my Saturn return Scorpio shit. And I was like, oh yeah, I used to hang out with the dark, I think.
Today I felt like I was walking through zombies in the airport.
Oh.
It's so wild how people are just like, so many people are just like zoned out.
The
That's what
airport
it
is a
felt like.
very zony. I would call airports like that. They might be ruled by third or ninth house stuff in astrology, or Gemini or Sag, but there's a little bit of the jail feeling in an airport of a 12th house. Like, kind of, whenever you get to jails, people zone out, or whenever you get to hospitals, people zone out. Like, when you go to a hospital to see somebody, usually half of your soul is like gone. Like, you're like, I'm not ready to. I want to observe the situation before I put my whole soul into this thing, you know, because you're walking by everybody else's like traumatic situations going on, especially if you walk into like the intensive care unit. You know, it's kind of like I go, I'm Sun in the 12th, so I'm like, I'm in a hospital right now, let me get ready for this one. And I kind of zone out and kind of just come in and go, let me assess, am I ready to put my emotions into this yet?
Not me. I come alive in there, and I'm like checking everything out, like every single person and everything. I mean, I'm like really alert when I get around groups. I just come awake.
I start to
That's
feel,
awesome.
especially if I'm in intensive care, I can feel where lots of angels are. I can feel where the soul is like denying them. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I could feel like that room is like dark
Wow.
and pushing energy of nursing away and stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going away that way. And when they're having alien babies, I'm just kidding. The reason why I brought up the alien babies thing is because there is something about the movie Prometheus, because Abby
haven't
wanted
seen
to
it.
know.
Yeah.
And it's cool because Dylan knows this movie, so we can rap about it. So Alien, do you remember Alien? It was a big movie.
I
Ridley
remember it,
Scott.
yeah.
And I think it was, what was her name?
Sigourney
Weaver, right? You know, it was a crazy movie in space, and this alien, and then she has the alien baby.
Okay.
Comes out of her stomach.
The hybrid.
The hybrid, correct. Because you don't know that actually till you watch the prequels. So Alien was a series that went through like the 80s and 90s, and then finally, it's kind of like Batman Begins and how they go behind Batman to see what happens. So Prometheus is actually the prequel of a prequel. So it basically goes like, where did this alien stuff come from? And it goes to the original roots of where humans come from. And I don't want to give the whole movie away. But basically, these archaeologists in like 2080 are digging, and they find the same correlation between all the ancient civilizations. They were pointing at the star system. And so they go, let's go to the star system and see what's there. When they actually look in 2080 with the telescopes, they actually find that there's a sun there and there's a moon that actually would hold life, like human life. So they go, we're going. So they go there, and they do find ancient humans' energy there, but they're all gone. And then long story short, it's just basically like, you know, we use the idea of like nuclear bombs today as like the destruction of mankind and stuff. And this one, it was almost like our creators had a plan if it went wrong here, or maybe their plan was when humans got conscious enough to find them, that they had a ships that would send over enough canisters full of this weird alien virus dark energy that would, you know, if you've ever seen the aliens when they go into the mouth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? And they swiggle in like serpents.
Yeah.
And what's interesting in like Egyptian stuff, they have the serpent everywhere.
That's
Have you
true.
ever noticed that?
Yeah.
They're very serpenty in the alien stuff. I want to hear what Dylan has to say.
Oh, well, I was just reading this really interesting book. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it's basically about how the development of language actually changed our brains to be more left brain, more logical, more masculine, and how that disconnected us from the feminine and goddess culture, and how actually in Egypt, the serpent was seen as a very feminine symbol.
Right.
Which I just think is worth mentioning because we're talking about it.
Well, and even in Christianity, Eve is
Right.
feminine, but they give her the serpent and they give her the dark energy of she fucked it all up for us,
And then in Moses' time, the serpent was the staff, right, that they all had to look at
Yeah.
to have healing or...
Right, for the Ark of the Covenant, right?
Yeah. But what were you saying about that movie and the feminine energy?
Well, that the
Earlier.
aliens, because they are very, when they're a baby, you actually see them in the canisters come out, and they look like a cobra, and then they kind of open up, and they kind of go, and then they jump at you like crazy, and they go in and they go into your mouth, and then they literally impregnate themselves into you, and they take your human DNA with the DNA of themselves and fly out of the stomach and create a hybrid alien human to use the human qualities of our brains and stuff. So maybe I think he was referring to maybe of the feminine as the...
Yeah, like when I watched those movies and I really contemplated them post watching them, I was like, this really seems like a kind of unconscious exploration of the masculine's fear of the feminine, being this dark force that can just take you over, take your DNA, take your life force, turn it into something else, and just like leave you like a husk. And I think that, interestingly enough, male psychology, when we look back into these goddess cultures that predate organized religion, and when the feminine was in charge and we had, matriarchal societies, the masculine was so fearful of that female power to create that it didn't know that it had more physical strength. And so men were like tools, and actually men were ritually sacrificed by the matriarchal societies just to show their dominance and so that they could keep the men in their place. So I think that repressed memory, echoes through consciousness.
Somebody's putting in here Kundalini energy too.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the serpent as well.
That's the way I
Right
felt.
away, it was weird you saying that, and I see Kundalini, and I'm like, oh
Yep.
man. It is the Kundalini that rises too. And then,
Well, it scared me.
I love how he said the unconscious kind of look at this, because the way that the serpents go into these people to create the alien is it almost has to rise. It takes the human form and rises this feminine form, connects with this masculine like human form, and then creates this hybrid alien. And then in the movie, so the original humans, they look like us, but they're way more evolved and way more intense too. One of them goes to go kill the girl who stays alive, and she...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, a little spoiler, but she opens the door with her alien baby that she had that she thought was dead, but was not. And that thing now eats the original human's DNA of the DNA that's pre our DNA, and now becomes an even crazier alien, the real big one that's got the big elongated head. And then in number 2, which of the prequel is Alien Covenant, now they start like, and there's actually an AI David in there, which is funny. Every AI is named David. Have you noticed that? 2001 Space Odyssey, the computer is, hello, David, some really weird shit about AI and David. But there's AI in that movie, and there's an AI being, and he actually is working to kind of in a weird way go against the humans and help the aliens.
I gotta rewatch these.
I know, me too.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So when you were saying that tonight in Deep Astrology,
So yeah, okay. So now we'll bridge this.
yeah,
There are energies right now. Like we'll use the example, and it's not a negative thing. Just how it's not being attacked, but there's energies coming at us that are foreign. Uranus just squared the sun. Now Uranus is squaring Venus in Leo. that have some sort of value system that could be odd or different, but also could go against the code of what we are, right? So with all this energy we've gone through the eclipses and with the Cancer stuff and now Leo, it's kind of like, okay, we've really done this really deep emotional work. Now we're going to go express it. But it's like, we're going to attract a lot of energy our way, but it's like being discerning and knowing, like, does this feel like the same energy that will work with my code? Or is this a foreign energy that really is, one, maybe asking me to change my code, or telling me to change my view, or change who I am, or telling, like, the person who gave me the comment today, like, you need to stop screaming and yelling. It's too much for me. It's like, but then I'm not going to be me, you know?
Right.
So by taking that and by you know what, maybe I should listen fully to that, or, you know, pull myself away from myself. That's like taking that alien and creating this alien baby that's going to come out as this hybrid of not who I really am, and that form of something I'm not, and create this foreign energy that's out there to go destroy other energies and eat people, to go create more of the same race of that dark
Yeah, it's just
energy.
destroying
I
itself,
see.
basically.
That's a lot. I know Abby's like,
Now
oh,
I'm going to have a
God.
nightmare.
I got those Taurus eyes that were, boo.
Well, I think, like, if we think about Leo, we think about David, the quintessential Leo energy, and how it is polarizing. You know, it's meant to be polarizing. When you're in Leo, it's like, this is my stance. This is my pride. This is my ego, even. And I think that in these Leo times, especially with post-eclipse, with new moon, we have all these people that are feeling themselves, and then maybe are, like, trying to knock other people's stuff in that, like, inflated sense of self-importance. And I think it's super important that if you're feeling not so hot, that, yeah, you don't let these other beings, they're not more powerful than you, they're not more deserving than you, they're not more worthy than you. It's just that they're on their code, you know, they're full of their frequency, and they can maybe, like, attack vulnerable people that aren't, because it makes them feel more powerful. So if that's happening to you, you've got to get your pride ready to be your shield of light. And only you can do that.
Yeah, and the way that lions work too, because lion is Leo, is they piss around their territory and they leave that smell. Mm-hmm. So other lions, if they come up, go, oh, that's their territory. If I cross that, I'm going to enter into a fight now, which other lions will do if they want to mate with maybe that other female lion or whatever. There becomes kind of a point to where, you know, you kind of have to, as a Leo, and especially because Scorpio is the fourth house for Leos of their emotional boundaries, they have to set them very strong. Mm-hmm. Like, why do you think there's moats around castles? It's very scorpionic, and they usually put alligators in them. Like, you want to come into this motherfucker? Like, unless I draw the drawbridge down and you accept the code of my way of shining and being in a life, and you want to be part of this kingdom, then I will draw the drawbridge down and you can come over and we're going to be great. But if you want to fight up against this, welcome to the moat, and we'll pour oil and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, that's the hard part about being in your sovereign self, is there becomes this point, whether it's a lion, whether it's a king, whether it's even in love, if somebody's trying to tell you to love a different way or pulling you away from yourself for the art of love or the expression of love in a relationship that really either manipulates you or tries to do something, I mean, you have to stand your heart ground, and you don't have to do it in a, you know, like a negative way, but there is kind of a point where you have to, like, kind of say, well, no, this is what I'm doing.
I've never been a big boundary person. I don't have me no moat.
Yeah,
No.
I got some moats. But if you're cool with me, there is no moats. And then, yeah. But then you can come in, and then I have to draw my sword.
Look out, huh?
Yeah.
I was going to say it scared me when I very first found out my galactic code, because it said planetary red serpent.
Oh.
And I hadn't heard a lot at that point in time about, that's right when I was learning about reptilian energy, and so it scared me to death. I mean, it scared me to death.
Your background too,
Yeah,
and
with
Christianity and red being associated with more of Lucifer. And
yeah,
devil.
but it's like then I really did come to appreciate the power of that Kundalini energy, and the power that when your Kundalini energy is like activated, which I like Kundalini awakening can be like a, you know, freaky thing. But it's like when you can actually just, what is the word? Embody it.
Mm-hmm. I like your term embrace.
Embrace. That's Tarn Brumfit's term.
I know.
I love that, but I say embrace too.
You promote it very well. And do a lot of work for it.
There is something about embracing that energy that it automatically clears everything, so that I don't feel like I have to have the moat. Because it's like when your energy field is just, you know, like if it is sunshiny, you know, it's like nothing can come into that sun.
Yeah.
You know, if you can keep your boundaries out far, you know, like far enough, just in the positivity of the lightness of it.
Right.
And I think that's what I learned about, you know, like that serpent energy too, is that's the healing power of it. So it's made me not as afraid of it. It's made me see that it's the capability, you know, to be the flint and tinder of your own sacred fire. And I think that's what all of us are depending on, like as we go through these darker energies too. And not darker energies. I don't even like that term anymore. But
well, what it is if we are really in this light work, and I believe in the 2012 alignment of December 21st and the galactic shift point, and with the sun reaching more of the equator of the galactic plane and going into the higher realm, that the light has been getting brighter and brighter and brighter.
Mm-hmm.
So of course there have been more bugs that have been coming to this light this whole time. So it's not that it's darker. So I think a lot of people, you know, especially like it reminds me of Dracula, right? Like when Dracula shows up and all of his bats that are vampires, like it kind of goes over the sun or comes over the darkness or even the moon, and it kind of is dark for a second because it's attracted to go after this light or whatever. So it actually is a facade, because really there's a lot of light going on, but there's a lot of attraction to it. And it just made me think when you were saying this about the boundaries, like, yeah, I think you're right. But also I think when you shine at your full brightest and you are a star, not only from Earth are we trying to send NASA, what about all these other planets or maybe systems or anything that might see that same star and be like, let's go send it there. We might be out of something that we need, or we're going, maybe we'll find out if we're going to find out who built us. And then these people are like, we need to go there because we just like to go take a bunch of people's energy. You know what I mean? Like everybody starts coming to that light, you know, it's like, whoa. And that's where I'm saying that Uranus in squaring, whenever it squares the sun, in Leo, its home sign is, ooh, you're going to get a lot of bugs, but it's Taurus. So it actually is bugs that could be wearing nice suits and look really posh and look like Instagram models or whatever and look really good. But then you don't really know until you have to kind of go deeper, and you have to sense, like, are you trying to change my code off your value system? Like, well, I only go to bed at 11, and if you go to bed at 3:30, since I am single now, and you know, there's been people that want to try and date me and stuff. It's like the number one thing I get are complaints. Like, you live a life that's not normal. And I'm always like, well, that ain't going to work.
if they're expecting normal, not going to get it.
No.
Other people's expectations are none of your business.
Yeah.
Just saying that for all of us, especially the 5-1s out there, or any fifth line being, get a lot of projection. And with that projection comes expectation.
Oh, so Ra was saying that's why he always wore a hat, or he always wore a shirt that said something outrageous, or he would be in a car or something, to take the energy off the projection onto, oh, wait, hold on, let me look at the car. It would almost like take people's energy instead of being focused on you and kind of throw it in a different direction.
Yeah, he would like wear hats that said things you couldn't really figure out.
Yeah.
If you didn't know ahead of time.
So it makes sense now why I drive my car.
Why, David? Tell us. How does it make sense?
People think it's because I want the attention, but maybe I actually energetically want the attention on the car, not
You're
me.
throwing it, off. Yeah, I get it.
And when I learned that, I was like, oh man, that makes so much sense. Because I can feel people are like looking at the car, and I'm like, oh good, they're not looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
It's mechanics.
Yeah. Whereas there's other people who might, and I don't know what line that would be in human design, who like need the car to be the attention,
Right.
to get attention.
To give them like the credibility,
Yeah.
maybe, or the
Where people might
sway.
think that's me, but it's like, no, like I'm actually really cool with it just being me. Like, let's go walk outside. You guys want to hang out with me tonight? Go downtown or something? Like, I will be great all on my own. That's like, woo! Or go me in Vegas. Yeah, it's my town.
We need to take cameras and follow him.
Honestly, because
There
I
we
was
go.
just
Yeah.
I was just in Vegas last 2 weeks ago, and you know, of course, I stayed up through the night, and so I'm walking, and I'm wearing a bunch of different cool ass clothes, and I'm wearing my sunglasses, and there's all these families coming to check in from all around the world, and they're just like, what's going on here? You know, and it's like I like thrive off that in a weird way of like
The mystique.
the mystique and like showing like there's a different way to live.
Speaking of that, there's a question in here.
What's the question?
What do you think about storming Area 51? Would you do
it's
it?
a waste of time.
Would you go see it? Would you try to get in there?
No. I was in the military, and so I was in the air part of the military. And so, and I don't know if this is classified information or if I don't think it is because it wasn't, but all that energy that was built of Area 51 was so long ago during the times of Roswell and so forth. And a lot of that energy moved, the military moved bases a lot, including the one that I got stationed at. We used to be, Top Gun was in Miramar in San Diego. And then when I was in the military in 2000 and 2001, they moved it to Fallon, Nevada, in the middle of nowhere. Nobody even knows about that, but that's a huge military base for Top Gun and for F-18s. And then where I was based in Lemoore, which is in the middle of nowhere in California, they moved the whole Navy's F-18 squadrons there. So we're talking about major hangar bays. We're talking about 14 to 15 squadrons. And what I learned through that was that Area 51 was really a place of experimenting with newer aircraft. And that was also at a time of the Cold War that it was at its peak. And when the officers that I was a plane captain, so my name was on the side of a plane. And I would actually be in charge of that plane for making sure that it had all of its pre-flight, post-flight inspections and making sure it was good. And I was the guy that was in a brown, and I was doing hands off. I'm going in, checking everything, and do the whole salute, launch, go. Like, that was me. And so long story short, talking to some of these pilots, they're like, yeah, there's nothing there. That whole base, we go over it all the time. They have sensors that they've had, and this goes back into the 90s, but when they look down to drop a bomb on something, they can look down heat sinking to radar to everything and see what's below anything. They can see inside a house and see how many people are in it. This has been around a long time.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. And they've talked to there's nothing there. And the military puts everything in plain sight, not in a restricted area. It's a diversion.
I think they throw these things out into mass consciousness to gauge our interest in certain topics.
Correct.
And to
I
see
agree.
how much we'll follow through with, you know, the kind of suggestion that we didn't even realize they gave us into some course of action or some myth or whatever. I think a lot like the face, the old people thing that was going on. It was like, oh, it's by the Russians. Like,
Right.
let's see how many people believe that. Let's see what their reaction to that is. Are they polarized against the Russians? You know, like, I think it's much of it is like this collective conscious litmus test, just like the whole Facebook thing is. Like, let's see how much we can learn about how much influenceable, how programmable people are just by putting things in their life through these mediums.
Right, and if you use the Russian example with that, I think it was called Face App or
yeah.
whatever. It was like, hello, every day I'm looking at my iPhone and putting my face into it. 2, Facebook already knows your face if somebody tags you in it. we threw up an old footage of my spiritual dance music 4 weeks ago of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it got red flagged for one clip out of the whole thing that had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, even with me in front of it and everything. It got flagged. It knows. So, I mean, it's kind of like all this stuff's already been there. I think, again, then they made the movie Independence Day, and that was about Area 51 and how, it's really still going on. It's way below the ground, and we've got the old ship here, and we're going to take that ship, and we're going to go there. Again, I think that when it comes to aliens itself, there is no human conscious that even could understand what it really would be. Would they even really be in a ship? That is a manufactured human movie experience. That is a predetermined, forceful outer energy coming into everybody's consciousness that is forced upon us. That is not something that in true free will, if we had free will, we would actually be able to think. So it's pre-programmed in us that that's what it's going to look like. And it could be the greatest show of all time. The way that projectors are now, they could project up into the sky, a ship coming and a whole fleet up into the night sky, and use projection and use 3D visualization and make it feel like it's really all coming and scare the bejeebus out of people. But to me, I would look at it and be like, well, if this looks like it's what was in the movies, it's definitely not what aliens are. Because anything that's going to be alien is going to be alien, which is an unknown, energy, figure, person, race, whatever, anything. And, there's a good analogy, and I don't know if I want to give this astrologer's name out because he likes his privacy, so I'll do that. But, like the whole battle right now between illegal immigration, right? And this whole thing of like wanting to push away or not let people in the country, or how many people are trying to come in. What if that is actually it's a true thing that's going on, but what if it actually is more of like in the background, this energy of other entities that are trying to come in, and we are subconsciously trying to block it out because there's a lot of entities trying to come in right now. With Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn and with South Node, there are dark, and it's funny, I don't know if you've been seeing bugs a lot lately, but this also rules bugs. And bugs are more connected to aliens, I think, than we realize. I think that the bugs, and even we can go into the serpent. I mean, they say dinosaurs were extinct, but the truth is that the alligator survived. When you get into if you get into a lot of the esoteric spiritual stuff, it's usually the reptile against the bird, right? The bird being the symbol of, I guess, the light, and then the serpent being this, and the Palladian and the reptilians, and you can get into a lot of that stuff. But bugs go into our ears. They go in, we eat a certain amount of spiders a year. And so there's a bunch of this energy that is coming at us, and maybe in an invisible realm, and we're subconsciously playing that out right now through illegal immigration. Like, if you're not legal to come in here, and you're not vetted, right?
Maybe we're shedding the fear collectively of things unlike ourselves.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Good point, Dylan.
If you notice, most bugs, they don't really care to do much to you. They just, are bumping into you or whatever.
Well, there was that article about ticks.
That's a good point.
That the government was, and it's true, and it came out that the government used ticks for like basically biological warfare, and we're injecting ticks with basically Lyme disease and enhancing the Lyme disease, and they're spreading all over the place, and the government let them out in society. And that was a true story. It's like it was all over the news 2 weeks ago. And that basically they got leaked, and there it is. So mosquitoes, for example, want to take our blood all the time. They say that the more positive you are, the more you get bit.
No, who's they?
There was a bunch of studies on people who were on a lot of antidepressants, or they were depressed, and then people that were in a place of joy in their life. And they did a study on mosquito bites for years, and people who were in positive states, weren't in depressed states, didn't have problems with depressions got completely bit way more than the people who were in depressed states.
That is so. Do you want to see all my bug bites?
So I think, and I think that's a way for them to survive. And I think that Dylan's got a point. It's about learning to accept this other, who knows what the entities are that come in. But there also, I think, is the part two of a vetting process too for ourselves in our own lives. I think we're using our own kind as an example right now. But I also believe there's that preacher who got in trouble recently for buying a jet, and everybody's mad at him. So they went up to him and said, "Why did you buy this jet with all the preacher money?" And he's like, "Because and the whole discrepancy was because he goes, I don't go on cylinders full of demons." That's what he said. So they confronted him and they were like, "Why are you saying that all humans?" And he goes, "It's not humans." He goes, "I love people and Jesus loved people." But he goes, "There's people drinking alcohol on that plane. There's people like pulling each other and getting in fights on the plane. Like, how am I going to go preach when there's these energies that are taking over these people?" And
Sounds like a reptilian state of mind to me.
No, I know. I'm just saying it is an interesting point, though, of, the star Algol, which is at 26 degrees of Taurus, is what rules alcohol. And it is a demon star. And spirits, right? We call alcohol spirit. Like, let me go get some spirits, a lot of those words kind of moved on, but there is something to say that sometimes, and it doesn't matter if it's alcohol or some certain positions people might be in their life that can allow themselves to be taken over by some sort of, whether it's, you call it just the darker side of the human consciousness, or whether it really is some sort of spiritual kind of energy that can come in that's dark.
I wonder about that because my own personal question has been, is that the same belief as like veganism?
Right.
Where it's like, because it's like the other night, like Craig and I had a couple of beers while we're sitting there working on the pictures, for the app. And it's like, is this allowing anything evil in, because
Right.
we're having alcohol, or is that, it did shock me when I heard you say that about the star, because isn't it like, when is that time?
Oh, it's where your sun is in my
Right.
moon.
Right. So it was like, that's really interesting, because my natural instinct has been to like let it go a little bit, because there for a while I could drink a glass of wine and one glass would have me like,
Right.
I mean, I would really be feeling it. Or sometimes I could drink 4 glasses and not feel it.
Right.
So it was like, is that really the wine, or is it, other influences that are around at that time? So
I think it's a subject that I don't think there really is a specific answer to. I think that not everybody that drinks alcohol is taken over by evil spirits, but I think that maybe once you take it too far down the line, sure, right? Like, why not?
when you're losing yourself,
yeah,
for sure, if you're not remembering, or
and it's more than just alcohol; it could be anything, right?
Yeah.
And if you're, I think it's when you lose your consciousness, like where you lose your state of like control, and I think that's the only place we have a control of is like knowing when we are off the mark in alignment with our soul, like when it's just like, I'm just gonna just bypass that and just let it kind of flow out of me, and let some sort of, I don't know.
Interesting human design perspective here. We've all got basically one extra seat in our vehicle for some kind of presence. Now, each of us are uniquely designed to experience the supernatural in a specific way. It ranges from angels to demons. Yes, demons are correct for some people because they motivate you. To ghosts, to gods, to entities, to aliens. We all have different tonality on how we experience that supernatural realm. And it's in human design, you can see like, oh, I'm an angels person. I'm going to experience and when you hit those moments of encounters, these are actually moments where you're being brought back into alignment. Now, because everything is dualistic, you can have the opposite encounter of what you're meant for. And that can really stick with you and kind of keep you stuck out of alignment for a long time until you have the right encounter to push that other entity out of that extra seat.
Weird.
So it's definitely both are possible, I believe.
Yeah. And I think it's, that's where this kind of ties into kind of the older religions and stuff. I mean, there is a common denominator with a lot of this talk of a dark and light. I mean, but we talked about this with Kim too, and her painting is looking beautiful, by the way. That, you know, like there is dark shades, there are light shades, and I've kind of come to not a conclusion, but a hypothesis that through my psychedelic experiences and through seeing the dark and the light and being on both sides in past lives and this life and everything, that, you know, there is some sort of force out there that is that has predetermined and kind of created this reality of light and dark, and they work together. So like when we say, you know, like there's angels, like or there's like light worker beings out there, or people start to get into Palladians or whatever. Like I've seen the exchanges where Palladians have been like, oh well, we're hungry, we need energy. Like send the reptilians that person and send us somebody. And when you even read some of these Palladian channel books, they'll be like, don't even trust us fully. And that
it
one
makes
really
sense. We talked about this, I think it was at an event when Starry Ari and Peace Stealer were here, but I don't know how many people here in this audience heard it. But it was that in every other experiment, you know, like if you believe in, you know, like the times of Atlantis or the times of the Lemurians, or the mistake that we made was that we were all trying to be pure light. And so this time in the experiment, we knew that we had to carry dark as well. Yeah. So it's like an agreement was made that we would carry, you know, a piece of the dark with us if we felt like we could maintain our light so that it could be balanced.
It's an anchor.
Yeah, and it's all I see is like that, you know, like yin and yang sign, because it's like I know that every single one of us, I do know that we have that, you know, that dark capability or whatever, but I think it's about appreciating what the dark has to offer too, you know, because I remember a conversation, somebody was talking about Satan and how it was like the worst thing in the whole wide world, the evil, and it's like the evil is, it is terrible, but that's also the greatest angel of light in a sense, because that's when we see that, it brings out the abhorration of something and it allows our lightness to be there.
And change of like, I've reached the boundary of where I need to change.
So now it's like, that's interesting that you say that about the second seat, because there came a point in time, I can't remember when it was, I think it's been about 2 years ago, where I was just like, it's time for you to get off my back. You know, just like literally it's done. You know, and I could feel it change. But I had never even thought of the potentiality that I was carrying it as a way for it to get here, you know, to get further in the experiment. It's just kind of like a far out concept that we would have consciously made an agreement to carry it.
Yeah, and I think to Dylan's point too, of like how human design works, like especially from that crown, but there's that root too. It's like we're all manifesting generators here. So without that root, we would all not be manifesting generators.
Yeah.
Well, we could.
Well.
You got your first F on human design today.
Yeah, well, I got my first F. I'm not, but so like, but maybe I don't know. I think is a pure manifesting generator got to have the root / to the sacral or to the solar plexus and the throat.
Pure manifesting generator is the sacral to the throat.
Okay, so that's what I am.
Generator is the sacral. And the manifesting part is that it's attached to the throat, so it's always manifesting what it's generating. But there's many different. We have like 4 different kinds of manifesting generators on this stage right now.
That makes sense. But I was going to say, so to go back, and this is a good way to close everything, close the alien thing, was that the whole idea was that it was like the people who created the humans in the movie that are humans, they're just like, we were like lower forms of them, had this system set up that if they were becoming conscious enough to come back, that they would send these ships to kill them, basically, because they'd figured it out, or to control them. Kind of like however these energies are that are trying to control this universe. And I think that it's what light work is the ultimate aspect of bringing humanity up to its own powerful species in itself, instead of looking outside for this alien stuff or looking, and that's why the whole Area 51 thing doesn't even fascinate me at all. I'm more fascinated about realizing that humans don't realize that they're aliens. They don't even know who they are. We don't even know who we are as a species. So until we figure that out, it's going to be the moment of how do we bypass out of this predetermined reality that goes to the full free will of not being controlled by a dark and a light force that is actually working together.
Exactly.
The program.
Yeah. So
That is looking
on a
very
lighter
beautiful.
note, Kim's beautiful painting.
Thank you.
Mm.
Still a work in progress.
You're letting it dry a minute.
When you look at the TV and you look at it next to the original logo, it's like the same thing. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Imitates life.
Totally. I love the teal that it's emerging out of.
Yeah.
It's a really calming
Get-
color.
Do you want to give her a mic?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, teals and reds and complementary colors. For me, like, color is energy, you know? And so we talk about, like, darkness and lightness. Like, I always tell my students, like, in between, like, halfway through their paintings, it always looks like a hot mess, right? It's like, where, you know, everything's kind of just up in the air, as far as, that's how I use it as a metaphor for life. And it isn't until, you know, we get to these very definitive spaces on certain paintings. It's a build-up, right? So it's just like, you know, going to the nail shop and you get that color and they put it on, you're like, that ain't it, you know? But then you let it dry.
I don't know that, but yeah. I could imagine.
There's a
though.
great girl analogy.
Yeah. So you let it dry, you take your time, they go to every single one, and they come back around. That second layer starts to become what we want, or that feel, that expectation. But it's like, that's the thing about with visual, like I like to call this art therapy, color therapy, is it submits you to a space to appreciate being patient and allowing things to organically become itself. And once you start to go through the lessons, right, and you know that lessons disguise itself as different faces, because the universe always asks you, are you truly ready for this evolution, for this next step in life, right? I think all of our journeys is enlightenment. And within enlightenment, we talk about unconditional love, right? So even being like, I'm so afraid of the darkness, you're actually, you know, you're limiting yourself from truly understanding and loving all things that do exist. That's why I use nature, and there's some of these look like storms, but it is also very romantic because there's nothing deeper than fear. There's nothing deeper than love, and I see it as the same range but different aspects of them, you know? So like the darkness, like all these things wouldn't exist without the darkness. That's what I truly believe. So like my journey is to accept the things that I feared, like death, you know, like the unknown, or taking risks. I've just learned to fall in love with not knowing, because if I do know that for sure this is a shit sandwich and I continue, then I'm not acknowledging the gift of the universe telling me, you already know that this ain't for you. So it's better to walk away from what you do know is not it, and have a limitless, unconditional expectation of what it could be. But like it come from here, right? That space of truth, that space of surrendering to whatever it is, no matter what way, shape, or form it comes in. Trust, you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting that color too. David Icke, when he came out in the 80s, and he was a British sports broadcaster that became all spiritual and started talking about reptilians and everything. He went in a full teal jumpsuit on the TV programs, and they're like, "What's up with that?" And he goes, "This is like the ultra spiritual color, you know." And there's something about that color too that really is. And for me too, I've always said when people say, "What's your favorite color?" I'm like, "Seafoam green." You know, I don't know what it is. There is something about teal. It also in New Mexico when you look at turquoise.
It's like water. It's deep.
The Indians always, the Native Americans always found that turquoise, that color, is a very like beautiful and positive color.
I think that's why I use it. You see it a lot in my paintings. Because I like
probably why I like
the
your
draw
painting so much.
It's like the moth to a flame. Like I want to invite someone in, and then I allow the space for them to take away whatever it is. And that's why I like to do like unexpected things. So it's like a gift to have like manifested in time and energy to really seek. Okay, why is this speaking to me? Why did it stop me?
Right.
Why am I looking at it? Like, we're powerful.
Yeah.
We ask for everything that is in front of us. Like I've had so many different types of jobs in my life. Going back into bartending allowed me a space of just meeting so many different type of people on a daily, hundreds of people a week. And it's an interesting space to witness a lot of unhappy people, right? And what we created as far as like this small little bar in Anaheim in our own little corner of the world was we believed in our energy. We believed like in the love that we have for each other. We believed in maximizing our space and time and love and light and joy. Like just that old school hands-on like family environment that you don't witness a lot. And
kind of like Cheers.
The Cheers of Anaheim. Who would have thought? But it was real, And, I was speaking before when I first met Abby, I had just lost that job. And it honestly was a job that I approached when I have a son and I was teaching and I wasn't feeling connected to teaching. And art has always been my passion, and I've built all these ships and didn't have any gas money for any of them. And so I called up a friend who believed in me like 15, 20 years ago when I was in art school. He actually has a painting of mine hanging up, and I just put trust in the situation of like, I need time to figure out and build what it is. Please give me this space. But that space gave me so much more than I could have ever imagined. Like I didn't want to work late nights anymore. Like I have a kid. Like like bartending, drinking, and all that stuff was a concern of mine. Like I have to make some money right now, and I've committed to this life, and I'm tired of dragging my kid through this process of unknowing of what is this and why. And I developed an amazing relationship. I was able to be in a space being my true authentic self, still serving, still connecting, practicing being me, which is a true space of just wanting to give, and be my truthful self. And I lost that job within 10 days, and we were heartbroken, but we knew what our energy was real. And 2 days later, I met Abby, and Craig brought me in here to create There's an Art to Life. So there was a deep closing of something I truly loved. But then, like you said, the older you get, the more you just trust, and you don't have to go into that oh shit handle, resistant, like what is happening. And that's where I would go in my panic modes, trigger places that no longer serve me. And this time around, I just was able to write it out and accept the gifts that I asked for, but it does. It's like a grieving. There's a closing of something that feels dark. But then, what our faith and like what we do is always walking away with that grain of sand of like, okay, something's happening, and I'm just going to enjoy the ride. And You know, now I'm creating this something that I believe in, something I manifested in for years. I went to the Philippines unexpectedly like last week, which really helped ground who I am, you know, and just everything. We had this conversation when I saw Dylan. Like, we're just feeling like we're here trusting and having that peace and not having like hold your breath and grip that.
That's when like magic shows up.
Yeah, for real, because it's all there waiting for us to not close both eyes. Like, it's all there.
I used to be a bartender too, and what I love the most about, you know, like our experience in that is that it is about building community. Like, we see the importance of community.
Eye
And
contact,
And people
shaking
would come there
hands.
to have the drink. That was the community thing. But that's why what we're doing with Kim is so awesome, because it is creating that whole segment that's about community, that's built around, you know, self-expression and doing something that maybe you've never done before and thinking out of the box. And
in a safe space of just creating, you know, like I know where my intentions are, and I think that's a place of trust. When I started to really show people my paintings, was realizing and checking myself, like, girl, you know, you sat there with your heart on the table, you know, you sat there in your truth, and that's what resonates. And maybe I haven't been able to tell all the stories, but I feel like the stories tell itself, because that's the energy that I manifested in. So that it is important for me to create these spaces that people just follow me for the ride and walk away knowing that you did that, and it was nothing at one point and it's something now, and let these be these mini time machines. Right? That will remind you, like, say you wake up shitty or you wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm hoping that you walk around a corner and you turn on the light and you see a painting, and it acclimates you back to that space of calmness and knowing that, you know, the gifts are there for us to see, and just remind you that, like, it's all good, you know? Like, you don't have to go into panic mode. You know.
have you ever painted?
Yeah.
And you're going to paint a picture with Kim someday?
I'm going to.
Yes, we're going to do that for sure.
We get to see how great of an artist Mr. Palmer is.
Actually, when I really step into it,
Yeah.
I do I draw crazy alien beings, but that's what I do. And that's for real. And I just wanted to kind of close with how you brought up being a bartender and serving people. Now, I didn't serve alcohol, but the whole way of how I got to being the Leo King, there was an experiment done where my rave name was Lord Palmer. And I would take the ecstasy of everybody, and I would bless it, and I would serve it to them and knight them as I gave them the ecstasy before the rave or in the private space, to teach them, you're going to have a great time. And this is like, I'm 20 years old, you know, like, and then everybody was like, Lord Palmer, you know, and like, really, it was like through that experience of teaching people to bless things, that there's a purpose for this experience you're going through, not I'm doing it to get rid of my pain. I'm getting to do it to get through my horrible situation, which is what shamans really do, right? Like, there is a shamanic aspect in these, whether it's ayahuasca or any of this stuff, of like, there's got to be some sort of blessing and some sort of ritualistic aspect. But in bars today, it's just kind of like, here, where's the money? Here's the alcohol, and just shoot it at you. Just shoot it. And you know what? You might be a little too drunk, but I need more money tonight. This guy's hammered. I got his card. Just keep fucking shoveling the drinks at him. And that's not positive, or that's not good, and that's not shamanistic or lordish. But yeah, kind of reminded me of that that's what came up, and that's what actually started this whole train of coming into the Leo King, I guess you could say.
It's wild how that transitions into like your real true calling.
Yeah.
Just like with you, I mean, that was like a giant leap of faith you took. And I can see the rewards are going to be really huge. I mean, they're already huge.
They already are.
Yeah.
And I'm just enjoying the ride.
Oh, we've gotten huge rewards out of it.
Yes, we have. And so, for everybody, we really appreciate you being part of After Dark tonight. And of course, you can find all three of these lovely people at their Instagrams, or of course, content is on High Vibe. But Craig, I think, has their Instagrams all hooked up underneath this video. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I always love being here with you all, manifesting generators, and including myself. It feels normal.
It's awesome just to be able to sit, and have conversation. And I haven't really been watching this as much, but I love the conversations that go on in these chats.
Yeah.
The community here is, I haven't seen anything else like it. I love the fact that you guys get on here and you're just a part of the room. And I can't wait to meet a lot of you like in person when we do some of these community events.
We have this whole event space here, and that's one thing that we need to get going on.
Yeah.
Is some High Vibe events, and let us know if you all would come, and maybe shoot some ideas of what you'd want to see. And
we want to do a big painting event coming up soon where we can all paint in the same room. Or where it can be live streamed too, and people can do it in their living rooms with groups.
Yeah, and then Dylan
What's
and I
that?
can talk about astrology and human design in the background.
Did you hear?
Huh?
Like a fair.
Like a fair.
Everybody, I bet you miss Craig, huh?
Shout out to Craig, our pure generator behind the scenes,
Yeah.
making it all generate into perfection.
People want to see my shoes. I had to put these boots on just for the show.
Uh-oh.
Because don't they say Taurians have? Didn't you say that
you know
earlier?
me, I always wear
Can you
nice shoes,
see
but
it?
I'm wearing Vans that are like a year old.
I got Birks.
Those are cool though. They're really cool with that outfit. I mean, they're dope. That's
Yeah.
I'm learning hanging around all these youth.
They're sick, bro. They're sick, bro.
Like stylish Crocs.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Well, yeah, you can find all the awesome content and go to highvibe.tv. Of course, Kim's awesome series is there. Dylan is at highvibe.tv. If you click on the school, you can learn a lot of things that Dylan has taught. And Abby, there's lots of content at Abby on highvibe.tv as well. And their websites and Instagrams are listed below. Thanks for supporting this. Please share it to people. And, of course, we always love your questions and comments. You can always write to us at production@highvibe.tv for any of those questions. And thanks for supporting us
Yeah.
any way that you can.
Good
Love you
night,
all very
guys.
much.
Thanks, guys. Love you.
Bye.
Shine your light. Happy new moon.